Hola, so adring ani chinamba chamala visitor center ke ani mama namba tang maranga mama namba no namba ani chamala kuyapta jebone tashi dele.
And so today I would like to say to all of you students of Wisdom Center, all of my students here who are gathered here, all of my Dharma friends, with respect, I would like to say Tashi Tele.
아니 따뜻한 바이나 상가추 휴시 저거 유자 휴시야 돼. 아니 Jetsun Milarepa.
And today we will be speaking about the Dharma. And today our Dharma topic is Jetsun Milarepa.
그때 나랑 주 Jetsun Milarepa이나 그랍 축직 값 결승직 아니 하장 당문에 다네 그 간지 그 종이 당문에 산진이 봐 나오지다 근데 차도 요리 근데 인터넷에 들어가 축직 값 해봤는데 지리 아니 다다이마 양아치 지진세 내가 소와다 어디를 돼 말한 저 화장 가발 선보 근데 술만 친보 어디를 지리 뒤에도 오시.
And so Jetsun Milarepa was a great Tibetan saint who appeared during the 1st century. And he was an extremely profound teacher. He was actually the Buddha in human form. And so today's opportunity to make prayers, to learn about Jetsun Milarepa is something that is our extreme great fortune that comes from our merit.
11th century.
11th, sorry. 11th. Thank you.
아들리도 전에 마치 남중 마치 취해야 돼. 힘주지다 찬나로 취해야 돼. 산스크리트시나 다르마하세야 돼. 저게는 취해야 되지. 대가래 거리 시전에 맞춰 아니 힘주지다 르주지다 아주지다 민원이 쪼대 힘주지다 대치가 거거든요.
Sam Chu to adjust, right?
Transform.
And so generally when we talk about the Dharma, it is said to be something that we use to adjust, to transform our minds. And so Dharma is Sanskrit, but in Tibetan the word for Dharma is Chu. And here what Chu is, what the Dharma is that which transforms our mind, that which transforms our body, that which transforms our speech. So the Dharma here is related to transformation.
Jetsun Milarepa 나오지 요 말이지. 당같이 good example is the Milarepa. 당같이 문에 그 transformation 대야당 가테 para 상가테 보디시. Good person, better person, best person. 다 베이지디 아송네. 소수 지원에 상마제도 받았는데 지금 저거 쪼고나 그 같이 주는 좀 못 죽사. example다. 다테 Jetsun Milarepa 차리.
And so therefore, when we speak about transforming the mind, transforming our body, transforming our speech, transforming our mind, these 3 doors, there's no better example of a person who starts as an ordinary person, transforming themselves all the way until they reach the state of enlightenment. There's no better example than that of Jetsun Milarepa. And so Jetsun Milarepa, slowly, he first was a good person, and then a better person, and then the best person, and then Buddha. And so he is the best example for how we ordinary people will transform ourselves into the state of Buddha. And there's no better example than Jetsun Milarepa for that.
어디는 전에 그들은 가장 좋은 행하라. Visitor Center the president. 그럼 Milarepa 공당 박하시지게 这来用的去写个老松的，你去写的没来的话，去写的也不老松松。他俺别嘛是干啥的的，他起来就上面俺干就的上回的人，俺干嘛干就的，干嘛干就的，咱呢，他等个两个 responsibility， 这个啦，他等着去查的，咱呢，嘛，那是的去写的，别搞了什么，已经都是俺两个呢，好像说那么清楚，还叫搞了什么。
And so, just yesterday, or not literally yesterday, but just a little while ago, so the president of Wisdom Center and also the leaders here, they asked me to please come and to teach on the Dharma, and so to teach on Jetsun Milarepa. And so I was extremely delighted to hear about this, and so I was extremely pleased. And so also I consider myself to belong to a Kamar Kagyu lineage. And so I consider it my responsibility to help uphold this lineage. And so here, when I received this request to please teach upon Jetsun Milarepa, I was extremely delighted. I consider this my great good fortune, my great good merit to be able to do this. And so I'm very happy.
아니 개침보 누지 늦자네 산지 좀 된데 그냥 마솔 왔는면서 송이 야솔 왔답네 추송로 지신의 소원 맞답나 아니 추송인 거 말이 어떤데 임바 송장아 추 무지그 추데 마실라 뭐나 아니 가추 멘달 그래서 남봉에 소울 왔답 아니 소울 왔답 같은 차들이 지난 조금 만달라 오프닝 만달라 어떤데 지세 아니 주시 거르데 아니 주거든요 어떤데 주송을 지내서 왔다 어떤데 지시기니.
And so generally before we start this actual main practice of this, or the main event, this teaching, it is said that the Dharma, which is extremely profound, extremely important, cannot be offered unless it is requested. And so for this reason, first we will begin prayers to the Buddhas to request the Dharma. And so for this reason, we will go into the prayer book and we will offer the mandala and do these prayers.
Page 5.
35? Oh, 5, okay, page 5.
뭔가 저 개통이 많대. 인지아라 조이세야 주베아이소 느다야 농치아야 강게 주바이당 예소야 란자이 사웨야 주바이지 야시야 바야 라마야 도와이지 오미양 고와이 참배야 마치리도 라노야 세이 치레야 샤바야당 마레면 배야 마치야 사베시 Ambe Shizya Keme Padasu Desyang Kawa Jaya Radine Medoy Sangaya Kochaya Rapishi Devai Yisan Yivai Zizirita Zaboy Zambe Shulai Kyopai Cha.
Now we're going to read the English together.
Read it.
Oh, sorry. All collected outer offerings, such as meals, my body, enjoyments, and all inner offerings, all collected virtues and infinite secret offerings, without attachment, be offered to the Guru. To protect one who brings endlessly wandering into sorrow, from the dangerous thirst of mistaken thoughts, and dispel darkness of unknown ignorance, Please light the lamp. With the mind of faith intoxicated with bliss, putting on the armor of universal perseverance, with singly focused body, speech, and mind, I shall practice profound holy dharma.
Sun Sanje Tam Je Jeng O Ere Dan Jeng Kore Jam Tse Chab Da Ka Ting Song Ba Me Be Ban Kong Tin Jeng La Ma Dam Be Chab Je Duru Tuma Me Ba La Gu Lo Bu De Ge Be San Ta Yen Jab Sen Je Sen Je La Ba Ran Je De Nam Da Tse Tum Sa Me Sa Je La Ting Sin Ba Me Re Long Gu Ben Je Je Ram Ye De Na We Je Gong交通公路北给的安坐，西山卡兰起来边过了街，这边东北这里那，结了丁巴公的上这边，感觉人不起啷个山上，把点到金枪啊，的公枪打老马干嘛把，经过了公斤就那些嘢，旁边也当，他们叫什么？这类公家是不完全就将被进行的了，我们就是自己根本的多少民族解决完成，加瓦公家最近一些个，记得对吧？看来大家的话，盘球这地方说这个，他们送着我老马人个啥人才，把定着我老马人不去，大概几个北美的有了，家庭情别过年之中。各种途径都在的少，用的上街公大娘那样，家庭上街公为了本工，咋不了没下了手了？到送着不弄那去顺从，刚到手别动根据的那，对幸福么了就把干说他，等别去见前边。新不能对把咱们见的谢谢，那么的呀，咱把话也给他了，他的经给准大，他没也给他们当，多贡献这给这场，他们这给的大给决定到，马群主啊，那问他的年辈心情，他们这世界东岸，他的来这的，那么这定节的话，那没把养到把做不上去就恐怕人不记得，你今天讲拖把的下。大地气的，咱们去上门的，你出现的谁呢？伢是那么的教伢们，上把上全球的土气把他的美国呢生产不行。他的page number 3, teacher ma la again this. You can read it together.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay. In English? Okay. So starting on page number 3. O benevolent root Guru, who is in essence all goodness of the past, present, and future, with great devotion and prostrate to you, and go for refuge to you, with my body, speech, and mind. Please grant your blessings to the faithful life, inseparably in this lifetime and all my future lifetimes. Clean ground, pure, beautified by the mountains of ineffable samadhi. Illuminating all things with wisdom, light, the sun and moon. Supreme Buddha, who accomplishes the welfare of all, please bestow virtue and goodness. Your Madonna, extending throughout space in the knowledge of all things. Beautiful, thousand-fold light striking the lands of trainees, fully illuminating all of Buddha's teachings in their entirety. With devotion I prostrate to the great jewel of the Kage. Lama, glorious Vajradhara, Lord of all Buddha families, Yidam Yogini, bliss of existence and peace, source of all worlds. Creator and controller of all existence. This yogi bows with single-pointed reverence, carry us with compassion.
Continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
All Buddha's great love collected together in a body of wisdom, white as a snow mountain, supreme Aryan Atakaya, Lord of the world, 3 months beings for Guru, prostration to you. O glorious and precious Guru, please place me above this at my heart. Caring for me in your great kindness, please grant attainments of body, speech, and mind, equal to all Buddhas and qualities of administration, yet surpassing all Buddhas in kindness to thee. I pray at the feet of my Guru, O protector, please turn blind myself and all needs towards the Dharma. All you who have become disciples of Buddhas, those contemplants, throughout the billions of worlds in 10 directions. All you who wish to hear the Dharma, rain down here and now. May you come here. Now, in languages of Devas, Nagas, and Yakshas, languages of Kumbhavas and human beings, in the sounds of whatever beings exist, and in every language I shall teach the Dharma. Please listen well with the motivation of the Chitta, thinking all of sentient beings equal to the extent of space, must by all means attain unsettled eternal bliss, perfect complete Buddhahood. To accomplish this, carefully, without distraction, to the Mahayana teachings being given here, and put them into practice.
Yeah. All that's all. I did it. Then I took choose here and be. I did a Modilla and the Jetsun Milarepa say a day. I'm going to Shubananji. Jetsun Milarepa say a day, Pukan King Johnny. That's Hanji Nipa, the Tomnani Angtambo. Orang Chigla Sanji Compound Tosuaki. Beji Shawa in a Jetsun Milarepa. Chigla, but Chigla Sanji Compound Tosu. Or the Share. And it that taking a train. California, Santa Cruz, Visitor Center, at the chicken anangatsu. Pe Masikawa Zambo, Pe Sonam Chimboji taken the horse. I mean, Gawan Kone, to the night horse.
And so, Jetsun Milarepa, he came from Tibet, the land of snows, and he was truly the Buddha in human form. And he attained Buddhahood in one body, one lifetime. And this is something we hear a lot. We hear this example, attaining Buddhahood in one body, one lifetime. He actually did this. And so here now, in us, in California, in Santa Cruz, in Wisdom Center, we have this wonderful, great opportunity to pray to and to study, to learn about Jetsun Milarepa. This is such a wonderful good fortune and great merit. And I'm so pleased, sorry.
I did this, any that de la the Chude, that Jetsun Milarepa, that Chu Hajang Mambo, Song Yaja, Jetsun Milarepa, thousands of songs, that the chicken, Oda Mambo, Japcha Mambo, and this the Song Yaj, or Mambo Chilla, and then mark day, that's a lung. I tell a big go, or the day is an logic in it,
and so Jetsun Milarepa taught so much Dharma. He taught so many different teachings. They said that he taught thousands of different songs of realization to all of his many students. He said that there are thousands and hundreds. And so this one I have taken out of this collection because I really, really like this one.
But the
speak about history too.
But the machine gonna Hindormos at the time, Jetsun Milarepa, Hindormos, second or Moransin, Hindormos at the Jetsun Milarepa, Yuksake, Sajatela, Korani, Yamda, Deja Juket, Concept and the Chilani, Amachi, the Amate, the Juchimbo, Norchimbo, single mother. That's the chip, and that the chip pay Juchimbo to the child. And the Jetsun Milarepa, and it is a Gomja, then Moran Sim the Chibo Yoma. I see now Sanji Jomdin deke, Gangla Pamjur Chiva Yuna, Dela, and it's similar Gangachia, Gangla Noriu, Dela Dongayu. Gangla Juchimbo Yuna, Gaza Sula Juchimbo, the same la, and Jutela Tambo Sakpa Dongar, Sama to Liu Dongar. 바드 저도 송마 털리 그 동안 당보 싹부 동안 바드 송의 동안 시다데 송접시네 어디 그 동안 아마 저든 제도리 그 동안 아니 맨도리 그 동안 어디 인도산이 동안 하죠 마모요 이 집중 밀라레바디 수 공잡데디 아니 때 아마데 그 생부 동안 거랑기 치니 하코네 아니 무식이 치네 아니 강정의 아마데 살아 아니 용의 집중 밀라레바게 아니 말아 아마 수뇽지 되어지 칼라지 되어지 조고도 거도 집중 밀라레바 군데서도 조고도 그요 말 아마 그 치에도 강정 패 아니 아마 그 세대 지금에 가르치는 칼라 때 거시대 나 조고도 거도 아니 아마 그 칼라 때 어떤 데서는 좋아하시오
And so, this story involves a woman named Shen Dormo. And she lived in the same village as Milarepa, in the same land as Milarepa. And she was a mother. And so she was also extremely wealthy. She had a lot of wealth, she had a lot of money, she had a lot of possessions, and she was a single mother. And so, anyway, she became very wealthy. And Jetsun Milarepa was meditating in his cave, and he, using his omniscience, was able to see her mind, was able to see inside her mind and see that she wasn't happy. And so the Buddha Shakyamuni taught that however much money someone has, or wealth, their suffering will also equal the same extent. And so when a person is consumed with this concept of wealth, then they experience the suffering of trying to accumulate wealth, they experience the suffering of trying to preserve or keep the wealth, and finally they experience the suffering of of losing the wealth. And so there's all of this compounded suffering involved with wealth. And therefore, wealth is something that is, in its nature, concerns a lot of different kinds of suffering. So back to Jetsun Milarepa, he was in his cave meditating, and he saw this woman was very wealthy, but also very unhappy. And for her benefit, for her sake, he came out and he went to where she was residing, and he decided to, he pretended to beg her for some food. He said, "Oh, would you give me some food?" And she said, "Why should I give you food?" He said, "I'm hungry." And then, so then she ended up giving him some food, and then the story unfolds.
아니 단 집중 밀라레바기 칼라데 주 아니 아마도 tilade 아니 칼라tin chukun 집중 밀라레바기 실라tin chukun 아니 ngur지 근데 아니 저 같이 치나야 될 동화요 마음 발랑아 저 침보 노르 침보 그때 르 말랑의 쇼스 몰람자기 가서 집중 밀라 아마들 송고요 맞다 인다렉 아마들 때문에 집 송고요 다 의서 송고요 맞다 그래서 아마들 근데 지티 몰라레바게 다 가르쳐 거디 당 거르 틴데야 당 거르도 암초로 고대데 근데 몰라레바게 시간 추차데 요거 딱이 아니 거르 틴데도 안 거르 그 나한테네 빼 고지 마모 슈트를 야 보진도 보시 근데 중간에 양자 추지 송오지 아니 몰라레바 때 슈리시 아니 몰라레바 때 송오지 말바르 때 몰라레바 추 마모 송 다 몰라레바 하게 추 마모 송 아니 뭐라 빼 대바치 뭐지 나 주랑 그때 추시에 제 참아된 거랑 집불 송대와 나지 나 집불 송대와 나지 때 주랑 그 추시에 제 참아된 용자 참한 거랑은 도시 주랑 그다 나라 송거 미 송거 도대 인베이네 주랑 그 송세 참아대 나가 토라 이 송대와 나지 용자 참아 노차 참아 동아 참아 강아 참아대 나가 토란 도시 근데 주랑 맞아 주 수인시 이제 들이다 주랑 수인시대 아니 나 몰라레바 이시대 내 고용 몰라레바시 아니 뭐랑 라파트 대바지 몰라레바 아니 뜻세다 코랑 로마차이시 몰라레바 아니 로마차차데 아니 뭐랑 빼 유바치 못지네 아니 다 몰라레바래 야 슈네 아니 다때 마송 야치들 지리로
And so she gave him a bit of food, and then as he was sitting there eating, at the same time he sometimes would take breaks and he began to sing. And then he sang a song, and the meaning of the song was something about, it was a Dharma meaning. And the meaning was expressing however much wealth we have, however much possessions and wealth, material objects we have, we will also experience that amount of suffering. And so as he was sitting there eating and then sometimes singing, he also stopped and made an aspiration prayer. He said, may I give up all wealth and all attachment to wealth. And so he said this, and he made this prayer for himself. It was indirect. But then as he was singing these songs, this woman, Shandorma, she was listening to it. And she was thinking, oh, like the meaning of these songs were entering into her ears and entering into her mind and into her heart. And she started being affected by this. And she said, is this Dharma? And she asked him, can you teach me the Dharma? And so Milarepa gave her teachings. He gave her many, many teachings. And then her faith increased. And she thought to herself, wow, he wasn't, it's almost as if this was directed specifically towards me. His songs, his teachings was directed specifically towards me. It's touching my suffering. It's touching exactly what problems, what I'm going through. And then being so affected, she asked him, who are you? And he said, I am Milarepa. And she said, I've heard of you. And then she became Milarepa's student. And becoming Milarepa's student, she became a great sponsor of him, and gave a lot of her wealth and donated and offered a lot of her wealth to him.
당에 말라기다. projektion 말라기지네. 신도르미 집주는 뭐지? 좀 상제 따윈 자롱 야도시 바다. 잡슬란다는 주시지 파르쇼. 출了没把这样的事把门的namne跟罗维家林班都被집준지 샤네. 나를 못 받다 대금 앞세자 롱데 물을 뭐지 톱 상지지 땜받은 자네 담배 취사 뭐 톱네 취면세 봐 남네 신의 림바 인성은 건데 송소.
And so now we're going to read it in English. When Chen Dromo said, even those who are able to meet the precious Jetsun Rinpoche, who is like the Buddha of the good times, people do not serve him without the slightest interest in Dharma, nor do they follow and practice Dharma under his guidance. They do not even generate little devotion. These people seem more foolish than animals. The Jetsun replied, even if they do not have pure devotion or faith towards me, that does not matter. However, having attained this precious human body, to have met the Buddhist teachings, and to have received profound Dharma, yet not to practice it, this is extremely foolish.
그때라 내 당 양자들은 말 뜻이는 말 그렇지는 말더니
Khenpo is going to sing the song with the accompanying, or with like the melody that it belongs to.
하장 도바가베메 아이메체 아이동제 라이지와이신들린 원제란든즈 앙콜베드 아이주든 드다드 드바이신 Samea Tsunden Dumboen Dai Yang Chaen Tamo Sepai So
now we're going to read this together in English. I prostrate at the feet of the translator Marco Lozano. Listen to faithful patrons and devotees. Sacred dharma spread openly everywhere and utterly on the way. Yet people recklessly commit negative deeds. This is rather foolishness. Having obtained a body of freedoms and balance, so difficult to gain, instead lost life in emptiness and waste. This is another foolishness. In the conviction grounds of this mountain's walls of samsara, to remain forever dwelling there, this is another foolishness. With families and acquaintances who are like friends, have a temporarily in a marketplace, to engage in quarrels and conflict, this is utter foolishness. Towards sweet words and fame, which are merely like endless decay, to grasp and cling to the something liquid, this is utter foolishness. Enemies and bitterness and trials fade and wither away. Yet to sacrifice one's whole life for folly, this is utter foolishness. Fearing to practice holy dharma with one's relatives and family members, when death comes to mourn and be overwhelmed with grief, this is utter foolishness. Wealth and possessions are more things, like to do a hollow rest, to love oneself with non-tight-fisted mindedness. This is utter foolishness. This physical body, severely a sack filled with impure, yet to make it look good and adorned, longing for beauty, this is utter foolishness. These profound instructions, supremely and life food, to sell them for the sake of food and clothing, this is utter foolishness. Those scattered amongst a crowd of fools, if you are robust, practicable, and accomplishing good, if you are truly capable and intelligent, practice like the yogi.
Today, any the Morangi Chunchanda, the Tama, Jetsun Milarepa, Moranga Sunchinang, the Jetang Lam Sang Dama the Papa Dang, Lam Cho Santo the Golwata, Danga, Lam Cho Juna Golwata, Danga and Cho Santo the Papa is. Lama Cho the Jabake, Chusona, Lama Yashi the Chusona, Churan Norja, Churan Rima Songina, Juncha Dayate, Lama Yashi the Lama Te. Danga Yashi the Karesina, Lame Tere Sunchina, Tama, Naranga Juncha, the Tama, Nalashi, the Sabajik, Naranga Jung Tola. Oko Panchis, come cut. This is the Miko, come cut Jabanashi. Oh, that thing, other songs, so that it's some other songs. Ndechike lamen chol changla gowa sina churang no ko lo churang de mason so ya de lama ya shu de de danga kan cho de yuncha chama nga tin do ngarang la me ja tha ma bo la lama che ke sun chu nang go na di ni me sun chu yong so ko me ja tha ma bo sun chu na ya de ma ngara song de wa na shi ndechike song ai na ani danga kan cho de chu ba de lama kan cho de chu ba de La me chuncha daya tere, so. Milarepa ke namju, me chuncha mabu dangita. Oda chiransu dream madangsi, ta dinani. Chuncha, chiransu, uparis, chiransu, nyumbaris, chiransu. Dili babu songdwa.
Oh, okay. And so all of this was taught for the sake of Shen Dormo. And so this song was sung for her, this Dharma was taught for her. And really, this is the case with the best lamas. And so when we talk about pith instructions or from the best lamas, these pith instructions will point out our faults as disciples. And so it is that the best lamas, they have the ability to point out our faults so that we can exactly see what our own faults are, almost as if, like, you know, pointing out like an acupressure point, like saying, oh, this is my fault, that's my fault. And so this is what is said of the best teachers, the greatest teachers. They have this ability to directly point out our faults, to see and point out our faults, and to give us pith instructions so that we can correct these faults. And so if a Lama was giving a teaching to, say, hundreds of disciples, you know, we would hear these teachings and we would think, this is for me. This is pointing out my fault. This is something I have to change. And so this is the case for the best lamas. And this is something that Milarepa often did. In many of his teachings, he said, oh, you're crazy, or oh, this is your fault, that's your fault. And so this is something that we find a lot in these stories.
Yeah. Tangi ribeji dama siklan de chejane. Drabjur ma pe shablan de chusu da yonda debachi. Tate reji de man de chiti jaginda. Tate nga chuti foloka ti chuti shiyarwa. Ta drabjur ma pe shablan de chusu da yonda debachi. Ta korang ge zawala ma de marba lo za yin de zane. Tambo korang ge chu ma song no na. Ani korang ge zawala ma je drabjur ma ba lo za la ni so wa ta me. Drabjur ma ba lo shablan de. Ani so wa ta. Any chusu dance, that Churanking Barchin, Chu Ningina, that ni dance. Yunda deba jinsi at the Shindor Morana. Yunda deba jins, Chura deba chibodoas. Achura Yaboji Nin shot and later a Chushu way in this year. Sing it with this.
And so now we're going to go through the song line by line, and we're going to explain and talk about the meaning. And so, I prostrate at the feet of the translator Marpa Lotsawa. And so this, here, Milarepa is directly supplicating his root guru, the translator, the Lotsawa Marpa. And so he is prostrating and praying to his root guru. And then the next line says, listen, faithful.
What page?
Oh, I'm sorry, and the white sheet on the...
Oh, okay.
And then he says, listen, faithful patrons and devotees. And here, this directly refers to those who are listening. So he is here teaching the Dharma. Those who are listening is Shen Dromo, and she is who he is addressing.
Mm-hmm. And then Egyptian Marba Loza, Milarepa, you can Drawaka the Shong Moti, Namtating and Dorti Mashuki. Egyptian Marba Loza in a cup de duge, Milarepa, you lick ups. Any Dugasoni, that Dugasoni. Any Masiki Drachimboka Loza in Bata Mazepa, and in Kebachiboiba. Theatola, Yamnichiboyoa. Any some Jimbacha Lamaji, but any Milarepa Korangi Chingi. And Yumachila, that Milarepa, that Korangi, Milarepa Namtati Chirazula, you know, Haku, you know, that Milarepa, Mamaboji Sera, Tojam. And then Korang La Kanga Mambochi Chen, Korang Amatan, Korang Simoda, Korang Mavasana, and then Korang to come back the Dubotan. Dubotan, Kanga Mambote, the Descent, any T. Dunga, any Korabu Chunjo Capsule, any black magic Sikador, the young, and it didn't touch them any. Do you know what you say, Yara? Say that anything you watch him about China. That is the party. Marango Litin the party Shamatava in the party again, and he's on the Chianogari. Someone you touch him about China. That the party Shamata, but anyway, that Tambichi Sargoto, Tambichi Sargoina, the Lama Sidin Sargoto, Kadichi, some. That Marbalota Matul, Huna, and Lama Mambo, or the Lama Mambo Sar. And the city can Korana Pima Tori. In Yumachila, I give them Marbalota said, and something much about Marbalota, Lama Chimbo, Lama something much about receipt. Any Marbalota in it, any cinco water yammed, I'm told cinco water yammed. Any loop up a sin, many chimashon. The Korajivan Humani Koran Dravajuka. Then break it in the start. All the nation, any take water yammed out, the Lama Teta, Unetane. Lama de Martin, and Dixamari, Shedaya, Lama de Zargin, somebody, you chimboch, Sifu chimboch shown. Any Marbalota, any Milarepa doing a young is. Madame Milarepa, Marbalot and doing so is.
And so, Marpa Lodsawa, Milarepa's root guru, he was, we're going to speak a little bit about how Jetsun Milarepa was connected to his root guru. And so Marpa was a famous Lodsawa, or translator. He was well known for his scholarly academic qualities. But above this, on top of this, he also had great qualities of practice. He was a Lama with incomparable, inconceivable qualities. And so Milarepa, he was a person who experienced great suffering. And as a young child, he was involved with conflict, strife with his mother and his family. And because of this conflict, he killed many people. He learned black magic, and using black magic, he ended up murdering many people. And so later, this happened when he was a young boy. Later, he developed intense regret. He understood that this negativity would send him to the lower realms. And so he realized that he felt such strong regret, and he realized that he needed to find a Lama. He needed to find a Lama so that he could practice the Dharma. And he searched and searched, and he found many different Lamas, and he tried to practice under many different Lamas, but it didn't help. He didn't have a connection with those Lamas. But then one day he heard of Marpa Lodsawa, and as soon as he heard of him, as soon as that sound, the sound of his name entered his ears, his body, like the hair on his body raised in goosebumps. His eyes started naturally welling tears just from hearing the name of his Lama, the Lama that's been connected to him karmically, or that he was connected to karmically. And he thought to himself, even if I die, I need to find this Lama. I need to spend my life to find this Lama. And so eventually Milarepa did meet Marpa Lodsawa.
Tan Nima Chila, and Milarepa, Marpa Lotan in the Yomi Kapsu. And in Marpa Lota, Munshik Gongo is. Koranga Loma, Takoranga Loma Yashit Milarepa Imba the Gon Unshike. A tea Nimotela. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, anyway. This is my devotion, okay? Yeah,
Beautiful.
sometimes somebody think some mercy down, think some to mercy down, they down. Now I'm a book on Jin Jong, Marpa, Malata, Tapo. It's called Lama Namta. The la, and then it's send a send the Joa Chimbo. Oh, the one turning, that's one turning. Milarepa Sunday the foolish, said Lemba, Kupa, stupid. Tang Manesia, Tang sort into some Garanga to the chip, Yongodoa. Garando Tamak Devan Dukuyo, Duhan Dukuyo, my. Yinayang, Deva Kapsote, Deva Zapang the Lam, the non. Dunga son rokuyo. The Hako in the Dunga son rokuyo. Oh, Dunga sola. Jimlare, she did the Wakasonura. Devan, do it at the Mok Perang the Deva, Tatancho. Dungan Dodo say the Dungan Yelong Brajos. Devan Dugu Yurite, Deva's fallen Rokuyo, Dunga son rokuyo. Aro Dunga, Dunga Yonkan Dunga son rokuyo. Got the Duki Jetsun Milarepa, Gambopa. The sugar some not on than choose on the some not on than Shawada, Gosung Lekasidan, Gosung Sawaju, but I'm opposite. I'm not a bad car car, shot of low night. Then sometimes there's somebody join. What did you go on that? Sorry.
So Milarepa went to find Marpa, and Marpa was on mission, and so he knew that Milarepa was going to be his best, his most excellent disciple, and sometimes I feel very overwhelmed because when we're hearing about these stories of the great masters, we're hearing about these stories of Marpa and Milarepa. Really, it's easy to become very overwhelmed. And here, like Milarepa's teaching in this song, he says that we are really foolish, and this is something that is really true. All of us, we can be so foolish because all of us, we want to be happy, right? Everybody wants happiness. Nobody wants to suffer. But even though this is true, looking for happiness, we take the path that leads us to suffering. Even if we understand this, even if we know this will lead us to suffering, still we're walking this path. And so this is something all of us we do. And this is something that the great masters have taught. They have taught that wanting happiness, seeking happiness, chasing happiness, we still take the path of suffering and we experience suffering. This is something the great masters such as Jetsun Milarepa, Marpa Sawa, Khenpo, they have all taught us. And so this sometimes I feel very overwhelmed, very sad for us because we want happiness, we desire happiness, but we only know how to pursue suffering. And so sometimes this happens like that.
Oh yeah, that day, any model, any Jetsun Marpa Losake, any Milarepa, Pekio Wate, Korangunshike, Gomjan, Munshike, Shinki. Any Marpa Losa, Pepsuk cheat. Takoran Loma Peguera, Pepsuk cheat, Pepsusina, welcoming cheat. This is my Tad Mojila. Any Marpa Losa Pemne. Any Marpa Losa take of the Tahamari, Pagin, Namak Pagin, Zane. Shinka didn't Yura, Koran Namal Shinka, the Shinka not in the Lega Lane. Oh, the Shinka Lega Leg Cruising. That thing when it Lega Levala, pay you marry. Pay you the Garichi, the Pay city, where come forced to do it and that the Karsakati Milarepa cheat pebbles. Any Marba Milarepa Kijat took you, Matamala. But Jetsun Marpa Losa Seat, Milarepa, this Trombak Malakijatine. This whole Marpa Losa Seat in the universe. Kijatide. And the Lumba is okay, Marpa Losa Seat, Ming Taki Yomai. And in Yurmet is okay, Yam Marpa Devashira Yomai. Devasina, the Kinsarwa. According to Ming Yimbachi Taki, Marpan Colexia, Marpa Seat. Losa Seata, Dabjun Marpa Losa Seat, the main symbol Yoma. Any you met us okay. Ah, what you such a Marpa Losa, Dabju Jarbo, Marpa Losa Seat, the Digi Yomaris. In and the such a Jimba Chilani, Tomba chicken and a Pagin Pagin in a Marpa series. Any Dabju Jarbo, Marpa Losa Seat, the Coma, Hako. Any Marpa Milarepa Casa, Calatade. Takanji Marpa Losa, Milarepa Catsade, any Shinka chicken and any Pagin chicken, Shinka lay the day there is. Any that day Marpa Losa is. Any Koranka Churanga Marpa Losa Shigi US, Kijatidi. Shigi US. And that thing is in the day Marpa Losa. Any Milarepa Katachuna. Oh, that pay of origin. That Mambo chick Marpa Losa Shigumino. That Churanga Shipea, the Lama in Jagu. Which is Churangala Wachiro cheese. The song is Yashuris Marbalota. Any Marbalota on degrees. Churang Naga Lega the Lechos, Shinkan and Lega Lega. Or the Lega the Lechota, any Nan drone, any Marbalota, Ketashios, the Marbalota in Battery. Marbalota, any Milarepa in degrees, any Koran Shinkate. Marbalota Shinka, the Koranka late and the same Marbalota, not a person. Any Chutun some year that the Lichi, Yurimbochi, that they come to Chutu you, Marawa. I can't say that Yurimbochi will Shinka late. Any Kansan Gini, Puchun Yon, Put low, that the Marbalota say for him by. And he said Armando this year. Any day on a budget. Oh, Pagin, the Churan, none of show love those, and Apa Churan, none of show love those. And it's in it, any Milarepa get on it. Any Milarepa got hard. Ah, Marbalota, the Pagin, the Shinkale, needed a Koranka Marbalota, the Mahako, and it did not so. And it Butchik at all, a dingy at all, and lose in any Agi Shinkale, the Gilbert, the day guys. And it was all a day, and it that correct Kalaji tea, Marbalota, Marba Milarepa, Kalaji tea, Ambo Kalad Sass. And the Kalade Sakuni Kijashi, Tanga Marbalos and Jigo. Kalada K. Chimbo Mari, Tambunga Marbalos and Jigo, Churan Marbalos and tea, Motuchi, Yanja Shuris. That the Tambuchuran Kalasa, any Jimang or Tushi. Any color the Sat in the city, any Marbaloza, musician. That Marbaloza lines. That you're a kid of Karashi on the Galaxy horse. Or than the Russian mountain trees. What they did, another Marbaloza Shinka, the Shingle de Capsule, Chang Yura, Beer, and Chang to the Bombay Kang, to the Koran Chang. Chang Hong de Chang Lama, in Chang Lama, any Milarepa, should have been Chang the Tama Tongs. In Chang Tongs, any Milarepa, the Tama Tong Yaris. And in Tong, the Temper Pay Yabon trainer. That the Nizon Denny, that got you back.
And so, here, so Milarepa was looking for Marpa in the land where Marpa was residing. And he went from place to place, person to person, and he asked, do you know, have you heard of the Lodsawa Marpa? And so at this time, Marpa was not a monastic practitioner. He was a lay practitioner, and he worked as a farmer. And so many people that Milarepa asked, Milarepa was going around this land, and he was asking, "Do you know Marpa Lodsawa?" And many people said, "Oh no, I've never heard of anyone named Marpa Lodsawa." No, and Marpa. I'm sorry, actually, there's something I missed before. Marpa had, using his omniscience, the night before, he knew that Milarepa was coming. And so he waited for Milarepa. He went a little bit farther away from his home. And he was waiting for Milarepa, like in a field. And at this time, he was a lay practitioner. He was not a monastic. He was working as a farmer. And here, he actually didn't need to do farm work, but he began to do farm work. And this was part of his plan. So he decided this was how he wanted to greet Milarepa. He was waiting for him, doing this farm work. And Milarepa was searching for Marpa. And he was going from person to person in this place, and he was asking, "Do you know Marpa Lodsawa?" And the people here in this land, they never heard of the title Marpa Lodsawa. Oddly enough, the people in his own land did not have that much faith for him. So they said, "Well, no, we never heard of a person named Marpa Lodsawa. But we do know of a farmer named Marpa, and he's a lay practitioner. I've never heard of this Marpa Lodsawa. I've never heard this name. I don't understand this title. I don't know what you're talking about. But there is a farmer named Marpa." And so Milarepa continued to search. He continued to wander throughout the land, asking people if they'd heard of Marpa Lodsawa. And finally, he came upon Marpa himself, who was waiting here in his field working. And he asked him, "Do you know of Marpa Lodsawa? Have you heard of Marpa Lodsawa?" And Marpa replied, "Yes, I've heard of him." And Milarepa was overjoyed. He said, "I've asked so many people. Nobody's ever even heard this title, but you've heard of this title. You've heard of him. Please, you have to help me. Please take me to him." And Marpa said, "Okay." And then he said, "Okay, so please, you can help me. I will go get Marpa. You please do this farm work." And then so he left Milarepa doing the farm work in the field. And he said, "I'm going to go and I'm going to find Marpa." And so Marpa Lodsawa went back to his home, and Milarepa started to work in his field. He worked for 3-4 hours. And during that time, there were no watches, there were no clocks. So he worked for a long time. I don't know exactly how much time. And eventually, Marpa's son, a small boy, he came running to find Milarepa, and he said that Marpa Lodsawa was in his home, and that he invited Milarepa to come and enter his home. And Milarepa was so overjoyed, and so he went.
Father calling you.
Oh, he said, "My father's calling you."
father, my father asked, "Ngaka park chuna nana chola kundosi."
Oh,
Korango para, but it's para.
oh, hindi kapsu kung hako masundi.
Kako yung mali.
Oh, and so actually, sorry, I'm wrong. The little boy said, "My father is calling you," and Milarepa didn't know who his father was, so he said, "Okay." And then so Milarepa went into this home, and he thought, "Oh, okay, so this is the home of the father." And then inside the home, he saw that farmer, the same farmer who he met sitting inside the home. And then the farmer said, "Please come, sit, have some food." And then Milarepa said, "Oh, food's not important. I came all the way here to meet Marpalo Sawa. I want to meet him first. Meeting him is much more important than food. I'll eat later." And Marpa insisted, "No, please, you eat something first. And so later you can meet him." And then
Any take up to good delicates and chang tambeka yorisi chang yoa. Yeah.
okay.
That is it. Marbaloza pagirwa. Chang toga yori. That is in chang de, and it's lama yori, in chang de. Marbalo, Milarepa, Churan Tong song is. And it called a Saman Tong Yaris. Namjun Chang Tongo Yobari. Tini modern Chang Tong. Chang Tong the Jani, that they got you a bit dimmed chibuchin train. That Koranga Danga Yonsu Jopa, Marbalo to Danga Yonsu Jopa, Samate, Milarepake. That Koran Chang Tong and Aji Lama Malipa. And the Koran Jula Topa Jula Jirik and the Demrex.
And so then Marpa Sawa gave him a huge jug of beer, and he said to Milarepa, "Please drink." And so Marpa before he was sitting here drinking this beer, he's a lay practitioner, right? He drinks. And so he gave this to Milarepa, and he said, "Please drink." And Milarepa, although he normally did not drink alcohol, he took the whole thing and he drank the entire bottle. And so this was something that was seen as especially auspicious interdependence. It represented all of the pith instructions, all of the sacred instructions, all of the qualities, the complete qualities of guru to disciple being transferred from mind stream to mind stream. This was an extremely auspicious sign.
Oh yeah, that's it. And he mando de Amchu Tamar Darwala, Digla Baptisi by Shinda Lins. The Tsikani Bateke, Tambichu Tamar Darsina Haja Mambo units. Tambichu Haja Mambo unit capsule, Tambichu Long Machiva in it, and it Dipala much. Ning Simiba. Shawata Leka Yonso Tama Dipasola, chorus hola. And this is Tang de Ate. In the Lembaris, Lembasinanga. Lembasity, Gayam Mishinki. Gayam Mishinki, Matsu Kamba Nizu Rogoyore, Kamba Nizu, Pate the Murdachi Urite. The young Mamala Leba, some of the Jumiva, and roll it toxic. Oh, the natural superior is Lenziad.
And so now we're going to continue with this, the next lines. It says, "When the sacred Dharma is spread openly everywhere, like butter laid out on a plain, yet people recklessly commit negative deeds. Negative deeds. This is utter foolishness." And so here, we are talking about a time when the Dharma is spread so extensively that there's so much Dharma available to us. But instead of focusing on the Dharma, our minds are focused on negative deeds, on negativity, on worldly, samsaric deeds. If we do this, and this is something that is extremely foolish. And so what do we mean by utter foolishness? Utter foolishness is somebody who doesn't know anything. They don't know anything at all. And so here, a person who acts like this, although to our eyes they might appear to be a human walking on two legs, going about here and there like a human, honestly, truly, they're dumber than animals, because they don't know what they are doing. They have this great, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. That's it. Kingatsu, Kare Yongo City. Train Kartan Roa make a subjula Samotawina, Train Kartan Roa make Shidanga, Pena, Jacob la Mata. 야갑 친복이 충종을 맞아요. 탑수식이 요리. My land, my people, my country, and that is in it. Nima takwa rekil tinsan. Ani ngati zabele de zamda. Sinjin la soba, pembo la soba tinsan. Mambo chigla. Ani samju la ta rang danjin tang, rang jinjin tang. Ele mato yin jipan jimba da. Yin la samno toni sabata hinji de zawani ne yoma. The Janing to the call some of Doyando, Tamchu Tamar Darwala, Digla Papur Siba Hindus. Ambichu Duvaina, Matola many opportunities. Mambo Yuri, Mambo Yuri, Lama Mambo Yuri, Chuto Yuri, Damas and Yuri, Mambo Yuri. The in it and the scene in Yamis in Ishira Kumbo, what the kitchen body yas.
And so what is meant by this is here. So nowadays, this is something we can see ourselves, right? Nowadays, there's so much strife, there's conflict between country and country. Larger countries are waging war, killing, and waging war on smaller, weaker countries. And people think the leaders of these countries, the politicians, they are thinking, oh, this is my country, this is my land, these are my people. And so we see this every day, right? So much warfare, so much suffering, so much killing. And this is so stupid, right? And so all of these leaders, or these leaders and many politicians, many leaders, they're completely consumed with self-grasping. They are consumed with this idea of self and selfishness. There's no sense of others. There's no sense of helping others, wanting to make others happy, working for the purpose of others, compassion. There's nothing like this at all. And instead, instead of practicing the Dharma, and here we are in a time where the Dharma is so widespread, there's so much opportunity to practice Dharma. There are many lamas, there are many centers, there are many good, great opportunities. But instead, what we're seeing is that practice of the Dharma is something that is very rare, right?
That is you in Haja Toparaka Melunda, Mate Tonze la Jiva Shidlings. Haja Toparaka Melundas, that they get you more than much.
And so here it says, speaking about the Dharma and this body of this precious body of freedom and endowments that we can use to practice the Dharma, it says it's so difficult to gain. And having obtained this human body of freedom and endowments, so difficult to gain, instead we spend one's life in emptiness and waste.
Oh, the needed any Tatanga so. Tatanga to the rich mail the opposite top. Mail the Toadamasi, Tambichu, like Trip. Cindy Lama, and the Lama Yapojin Jar. And Reggie, you look at up there, not much horse in it. Mashoachi at the packaging. Matu Shawata Leka, Karina, Drum and Dupsiate, Tambo Tambo Yada Mijari. Churanga Leka, the Tambo Yan and Ate Dubinsina, Mundup Sawakaya you marry. Mundup Sawakaya you marry. You have to put the first, number one. Pena, that Tambola Leka Karina Terry. Horag Lega and a dairy, Chug Lega and a dairy, Lega, Sama the Churankate, Antambolijana, not the Antambote Nete Tambo Chigi. Chuina Chu the Antambola Chigi. Jiking Hoa Chong Lega, Karena the Antambolijana, Mundrupasa Kayumata, Saman Dugri. Limba Song Zang, Machita made Lutin Abuja Toyuri, Ambichu Durigo Kokap, is such an assault Yuri. The unique option is anything to show Masoma, Tola Madama. Walk up the Mashoas in any children education.
And so here we have obtained this precious human body endowed with all its freedoms and advantages. We have obtain this. And here we have been given this sacred opportunity to practice the profound Dharma, holy Dharma. We have met with lamas endowed with authentic qualities. And it's so important that we do not waste this opportunity. We do not let it slip away. And so when we're talking about activities or we're talking about work, whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, there are things that we prioritize, right? And so here, we could, whatever our priorities are, we could be talking about something samsaric, something worldly, or something in terms of Dharma. There are activities that people prioritize. If we prioritize worldly activities, like business, for example, samsara activities, then we won't be using our precious human body for its purpose. And this will be such a profound, sad waste. So it's extremely important that we don't waste our opportunity.
That's all. That's anybody. Donchin dunzun call the truth, the 2,000 de machine the lanes. Tangaransun dunzu. Oh, the nigger donchin nana tapa, regular gong corner. Ambonga on Koala gong cocky. Gong coursin, there's a Kayan machine. Milan Nashing on gong cocky, Milan Mila Nash. The Dangaran to Sanji Jomdin, the Carison you received, around to Tata. Nimo lega lede and kola lega de. Mune momate mari sugu. Mato de zumari sugu. Sanji jomdi de Kaisina, Mulam Naji, Juma Naji, Tracha Naji, Medimba. The Juma Naji sugu. Tambonga son koala. And then we born zina, that day yabori, that day yabori. Somebody can go check. 이니바데라 총바 담지는 가서라 총바 던데노 총바 뜻서 가서 고거당 거예요. 다 TV세야 다 아니 드라마나 인터넷세야 다 드라마나 좀 추착하나 아니 고거지다 다데 닌지오도 다데 무스리사 다 고거지 고거니 되는 고거만 뭐 체크하는 고거네. 엄청 코와세야 코로 정체세야. 눈좀 커버 그 다들 드바신들 인지 아때나 딱 봐라 그냥 건 거대야 돼 근데 렘바래
Now, in the cremation grounds of this clamorous walled city of samsara, to remain dwelling here forever, this is utter foolishness. And so clamorous here, it's giving this imagery of something so loud and busy and hectic that really it confuses us. And so we are confused by all of this activity, and we are confused by samsara. Samsara is something that is really, we are so confused that it becomes almost like something like dreamlike, it becomes so like crazy that it's not, it really, and actually this is true, the nature of samsara is that it is not real. It is something that is illusory. It is not something that is actually existent. And so here sometimes we, in our dreams, we continue to perform the same activities that we perform in the daytime, right? Without even knowing that it's a dream. It is taught that the nature of samsara, of this existence, is actually like that. It's not something that's inherently existent. It's something that is dreamlike in nature. It is something that's like an echo. It's something like an apparition, something like an illusion. And so this is one way that we are confused, one way that we are deceived by samsara. The other way that we are deceived by samsara are by people trying to sell us things. And so people try to sell us televisions, they try to sell us internet or things on the internet, and we see this, we're like, oh, look at this is so beautiful. And we see that, we're like, oh, look at this, I want this. And then it happens one time after another, after another, after another. And here we are in this metropolis of samsara that is extremely clamorous and crazy, and we are deceived. And so because of this, we have become utter fools. With family and acquaintances who are like travelers, gathered temporarily in a marketplace to engage in quarrels and conflict. This is utter foolishness.
마랑주 다단 들은 좀 주대 호란 들은 좀 주대 가지 karma se ko lek wang ka nga chon de la jong ji de lek le wang karma condition se ko de sin jong ji ko wala ji yong nga chon de la ko lan jong ji ni ba cha ni za chang se ne nga ga chua nga ga ji mi nga ga pa nga ga ma nga ga pa nga ga po mo si na ma ji yu ji de ya da na yin pe ma si lin cha ga wang ka ya bo se nen zong ba ji ma lin cha ga wang ka ik se na churang ka da Gasa ke chua de jikse na chura ke homa se ya jo ko dra da jik lin cha ka wang jikse ne chura dra de chura homa ji wa homa ma ke de si ne raning mi ka wang ka lin cha ka wang song song ji ji wa de li ba song zang de ya ne ka zang la yong tong tong ma zhe ma ce de yong tong tong lo li na ni za zang ma da chong de lu mo na yi marketplace se no ta de ji ke chong jia wa na yi 내가 길랑 아주 축서 통이 이 투브레인데라 내가 아주 지게 제와 여기 지를 오치 여기 지를 아니 로바 여기 지를 빈송라니 다 된대치 쓰는데 냠도 대고 마도 아니 딱바래 실랑 투바자 가수자 근데 세대와 이나 아니 다 될렘 바래
And then, so here samsara is referred to as a marketplace where we're just temporarily gathered. And this is true. All of us gathered here, we are gathered only because of the power of, we are gathered because of the power of the gathering of our karma. So here we are gathered together here because of the influence and the power of our karma. And also it goes on to talk about family and relatives. And this is also true in this case too. Our family, our close ones, our near ones, we are also gathered together under what is said to be the power of karma and attachment. And so, and sometimes this happens because we are gathered together with those who we have strong attachment to, who we really like. But sometimes it happens because we are gathered, for example, our family, our beloved family member in this life might be a hated enemy in a past life. And so this is true. This might happen. You know, it might be that your mother is someone who really loved you, or it might be that your mother is someone who was your enemy and she's paying back some kind of karmic debt. In any case, all of us are gathered together because of these kinds of influences, because of karma, because of attachment. And we are only gathered here temporarily, just for a short time only, like a marketplace. And so, like a marketplace, we are just gathered together for a short time. And during the short time, we need to act with love, with affection, for each other's benefit, to help each other. If instead during this short, temporary time, we try to hurt each other, we engage in conflict and strife, then this is utter foolishness. Towards sweet words and fame, which are merely like echoes in a cave, to grasp and cling to them as something important, this is utter foolishness.
Magic no jisong sena, magic ngala no jisong, I call a gakamis, oh, I don't like him because he said bad things to me. I heard this. Or I don't like him, he beat me, something like this. He said bad things to me. I didn't love you. Tibetan namja judo nga tsu chulang yongso zoba tsama la jume pe je siyate karma rabrab manme tang juma sepa chura tang malam lo tang ting ta wen du se chuna de ta. This is in Buddha said. Karma rabrab manme tang karma na yi matin pa lam sang juno wa. Ini karma rabrab sina ini sine modern and this Yaman or the cups of using the source draw the one that Tong the one that did Amara Marmesina, that in Chume Sigara, Chume, Marmeta. Juma Sepasina, Shopa, Mao Yalan, the cups of Zaitola. Sure, the Chunchu in Chad, the Shoga Mao landed Zaitol, the Sepaski. Juma Sepas. What the day did I that Sama? What's it? Rod Sama the Lichiri, Sakir, the Dimba. Sama Dimbe Madapa. So soon when pa draws ya chica, knees ya, so soon when the pa lock Tiger Mato, learn Koran to Mune, draw the draw is here, then the knee, Magdrop or Tomorisia, Ranjing Koran when the Dimbe trip the Rachi, Amboni needs our need you money. And then may end it ane. Andinani, Tini Tachasondo, Tinimo. Tangachu Melakari, oh, you are so good. Oh, you are the best. The little line, oh, I think I am something. But people like that, can't they? That the little, oh, he's so nice to me. I am a good person. That the little love, there's something I say. But then when they're done, I not to teach you to the Namjong, I say, you think you just here. You think you just here. Tu ba tang na magawa. Me ba zuna magawa. Tu me ni den gong yang ba. Ani yang chi ni ba song neng ngui tang pe xia ta no da long ju song gawa. Ma zong na magawa. A ti su ko te la nga chun ji ti chu ji xie ge wa. Te nga chu nam ya ji da ta nyong ko to nen de si. O ta te khorang kare xie na yang ta kya na ji ri. Khorang kare xie na yang khorang khani ka ji xie na I ko se do ta kya na ji. Yapolisi she on a young, Koranga Yaposi she and a yan, I see you, Maringala, Kare you out the dead. Koranga Chuna Dokya is she and a young, she had some other young Chuna Dokya Chandra, I see you, Marichuran, Karena Tina, he's dead. Take a Pino, Kayan Yon Tokyo. The Imbi at you mercy at it and Richino. And it's Nimota, Ranimo the Chixina. But take a pay, Matsota, Kangachimo, yes. What the need is an section to the dama that sits up to the lava, and it didn't come easy, and it tropacho. What you are chicken love so, and they say, name tropacho, jarisho. And it don't have come about what you will.
And so this is something that we all see, right? Sometimes people might say to us, somebody might say something negative to us. They might say something bad. And then we might think, oh, I don't like him. He said something bad about me. Or sometimes we might even say, oh, I don't like him. He beat me or something, you know? And so these kinds of thoughts usually arise like this in our minds. We think, oh, he said something bad about me or something, right? And so there are metaphors, there are illustrations for impermanence. Sometimes they say it's like impermanence is related to a shooting star or a candle or butter lamp in the wind or dew upon the grass. And all of these are metaphors for just how impermanent this life is, this existence is. And so we might think that these things really exist. You really think, oh, that's really my enemy. This is really like my hated enemy. Or, oh, this is really my friend. This is really my friend. But actually, none of that is true. It's not inherently true. All of these things are temporary. They change in an instant. And we might really think, if we hear something like good, somebody praises us, somebody says, oh, you're good, you're the best. Right away, we get really happy, we get really puffed up and pleased, right? We think, oh, I'm something, right? And this is the nature of humans. This is what we all do. And so we talk about the 8 worldly dharmas, right? Praise, blame, gain, loss. When we hear praise, we become happy. When we hear something negative about ourselves, we become displeased. When we get something, we become happy. When we lose something, we become displeased. And this is just this back and forth, this pendulum swinging back and forth. This is what we shouldn't concern ourselves with. This is a great mistake if we if we concern ourselves, if we give this importance. And so we should recognize that all of this is empty, like echoes in a cave. We should treat all of this with equilibrium. If we hear something good, that doesn't make us better, right? We should be stable. If we hear something bad, that doesn't change us at all, right? It doesn't make us automatically bad. We should become stable. We should treat all of this and understand the emptiness of all this. We should treat all of this with a sense of equality. And then oftentimes we think, oh, like we hear positive words, we hear pleasing speech, like, oh, I like you, you're good, blah, blah, blah. And then we like that, we become attached to that, we chase after that. And we hear something negative, somebody insults us, and right away we take those as fighting words. We want to get into a fight, and this causes so much suffering. It causes so many problems. And so this is a great mistake if we really take all of this, if we are so attached to the positive and so repelled by the negative, and this becomes a big problem.
Oh yeah, the jidini rao meto yin de ya jula, hamu rang so jela xin de ling.
Enemies and hatred, like flowers, fade and wither away. Yet to sacrifice one's own life through fighting, this is utter foolishness.
And the flowers here, maybe this is an example in Tibet flower. Because the Tibetan flower is the only in summer, very short times.
Oh.
And I can see the California always flowers everywhere. They did it, Jetsun Milarepa, Koran Pul, Jetsun Milarepa, Metosea, Gunka, Yaka, Chuk, such a mato, Yumarwa. The Indutani, any Matapara, she reached on the Mata, Metosea, Draseate, Drawseate, oh, Ninjimoseate, Matap, Gatsi, Metolo Yakura. Draw Ninjo is a Marda, Drawsea. Matapara, she is again. Namju flower. Sina, Ape Ninji what the Richila Tama Gayura, they say you might. Oke metote, any Yaka, the Chunchilla, Tonchilla, Train, Sani, you might. Yamana say, Sera Namshita, Canon Chigani, Meva Chanukura. The Nimba songs on any Matabarangi, Jugaraji. The Indutani, and Tambos in a dollar, and in Dramadas in the Propaja, the Siati of Homa. This way.
And so flowers in Tibet are not like flowers here in California. So in Tibet, flowers were something that just appeared in summer, and then right away they were gone. So here, I don't see that in California. It seems like you guys have flowers all the time. And so here, this metaphor of comparing enemies to flowers, we're not saying that enemies are beautiful and everybody loves them, because that's how we think about flowers here, right? No, here what we're taking, the reason we're using flowers to illustrate, the quality that we're illustrating of flowers is that they are impermanent, that they have the nature of change. Because in Tibet, flowers are something that only appeared temporarily in the summer. They were here today, gone tomorrow. And using that kind of meaning, that kind of imagery, we are using flowers here to represent something that's impermanent, something that is changeable by nature. And so here, hated enemies are related to flowers, something that are impermanent, that wither away very fast. And to lose your life, to sacrifice your life for this purpose is utter foolishness. Failing to practice holy dharma with one's relatives and family members, but when death comes, to mourn and be overwhelmed with grief. This is utter foolishness.
As Bögel looks so large, Murtongoli comes, Michitan, and the Siate, Yapol City, and in Gajan, and in Yangi said, Dongar say, Murtong Sarwa, Dong Saditani, and Coranting Mut and the Sivaina, Coranga Gate, the Koy, the Zani, Shahatela, and the Cote Chapachi, and the Colchin Chachin, and the Coranga Jiva Jimak and Namshitela, and Salanga Parchira, Nugu Yoris. The Nimba Songzang, any Yangi singing Mari, Dunga singing Maris. Ta Yashu the Kare Karachi Gorisi the Tane, Matron to the song for Ina, and Shushi Goris. Shu Geta Yaboshi. And it's Churange. Tanga to Bugle looks all la, Matron Sawina, Shama Gypsy Gurina, 49 days. All the cups I need to the cine, Mulam de Yak, and Dumba de Yak, Telemato. And it Matron Sawakaps, and in Yangi si, Dungarsi.
And so here, we are talking about when somebody passes away. And so in Tibet, we actually have this tradition that we, according to Tibetan tradition, it's actually considered very negative if somebody's crying in front of a person's body when they're passing away. And the reason for this is because first of all, it's not going to benefit that person, right? That person already passed away. What will benefit that person is practice. And also it is taught that when that person's consciousness hears this crying, hears this sound of suffering, they become attached. They become attached to their loved ones, the person who is wailing, and this causes a lot of obstacles for them to progress along the stages and paths. And so the best thing to do during the time of death is to practice the Dharma. And so here in Tibet, we have this tradition of practicing during the 49 days after a person's passing, to practice, to do aspiration prayers, to do prayers, to do all kinds of practice. And therefore, the most important thing, the best thing that we can do when somebody passes away is to practice.
아니 노르제스 바다비 열볼라 신는데베 치와 신들 랭시 다데 파치 신도르몰라 jetsun milarepa mo tambo jetchimoridoa jetchimboinde ni jetsun milarepa angala khalate ro chisitene karichu kalate gorisi o tende mara tambo tremdo khala senak o tende idani pachi amorala injury eating it that is jetangara to chama tindewa gamla noryu de la senachi sigri juchia to senachia ju mea to te special la kwa yanga yan chuban be mang ni no jiba to ya ju mea to te ta ya tindi ba songzan de na ya norje sepa ta be sepa se ya de nge kong shi ba shoba zai to la shu chung chung ji shoba ngao lang de le sepa se de ya ma da ba wa si the Jetsun Milarepa Koran Gul Nana Pit in the Pit Mambo Dinani Seba Beto Tracha Sondu any that in the Mambo Chipeyo that solo youth in the Mazang Jarpa Sindata Pe Mambo Janoa. That is so conjured. The Dinduzani Norjes Patavi. Shurala tada juyuna, pam juyuna, norda lom juyuna, sugar sola pechu dam. Jimping ched, Shurala pesha yon moyun, Jimping ched pesha tamayina. The Nimotela, Churaka pechu tama the yam the Churala, Sunam the John Sai. Nimajelo Churala pesha mambo you, Jechimbo you, Kamba zibo you, no lonju mambo you naya. Chiron Roy Nimotela Shigadela. 내 주랑 왜야 직 주랑 그 크로양 말 주랑 냠든 로양 로토고 크르토고 말 그래 가지고 시그러 와 아니 도나 바지 텔레 착받지네 당가 주치 못들 배샤다 뜻을 삼삼은 콘 아니 셔탈이 값으니 양 남시라니 루틴 힘발라 룽임바 바시라서 바다 바르돌라서 바라니 강아마 못이래 인가요 근데 이 방송도 노르지스 바다비 야보라. 대양가 주 야보나 시리마도 추랑그 빼샤데 추랑이 상거를 때 말아왔지. 추랑그 총잡네. 추랑그 야리야와나 이마지. 맞아 찍찍을 띵데라. 마망산이다. 근데시데 소수. 근데시 야죠. 근데 자네. 근데 될 생각은 바기 칭는데 신데다 보잡네. 근데 세대와 있는 또 렘바리. 어떻게 소고요?
And so here, this this is being directed towards Shen Dorma, right? She was extremely rich. Do you remember that? And do you remember Jetsun Milarepa first came to her and he asked her, "Can I have a bit of food?" And she said, "Why?" And so first she refused him to give him the food, and that's because she had this stinginess, this miserliness. And it is said that however much wealth you possess, you will also have a corresponding amount of stinginess or miserliness. And so this is something that is taught. And you'll see that very wealthy people also can be extremely stingy, can be extremely close-handed. And poor people, you'll see that they can be a little bit more open-handed. And all of this, this wealth here is compared to dew on the grass, right? And so we heard this metaphor before, dew on the grass. It's something impermanent, something that is ephemeral. It changes in an instant, right? And so here, Jetsun Milarepa uses many kinds of imagery, many different metaphors. We've heard flowers, we've heard about dew on the grass, we've heard about echoes in a cave. Here, wealth, possessions are referred to or compared to dew upon the grass, because they're there one moment and gone the next. And so, really, if we do have wealth, we should dedicate this wealth for the purpose of the Dharma. We should use this wealth to benefit others. That way, as soon as we give that wealth to others, then we receive merit. Because one day, we won't be here anymore. It doesn't matter how much wealth we have, doesn't matter what fancy houses we have, what fancy cars. One day, we're going to die. And when we die, we won't be able to to take with us even a cent of that money, any part of that wealth. And so, if we are attached to that wealth, actually when we pass away, this creates obstacles for us. Because of that attachment, we will become drawn back towards samsara. When we are wandering through the bardos, our consciousness, if we are attached to wealth, if we are thinking about our wealth, it will lead us into the lower realms, it will lead us into negative rebirths. And so to become attached to this wealth is something that is extremely foolish. To be bound by this tight knot of miserliness, of stinginess, is something extremely and utterly foolish. This physical body is merely a sack filled with impure filth. Yet to make it look good and adorn it, longing for beauty, this is utter foolishness.
Milarepa ke cut off Sunni direct. He is teaching always direct to the person. You should know. That the bitchy. That the nani re umbo matang charbari. Jumsi kareri umbo matang charbasina. Any usada the garbage. Garbage in another so many. That the mambo the lawyer. Charbasia. Kaisina. Naju umbo kanalo do the yuri. Law. Chimba, any Juma, Lonka, that dinner, cha, na, any zoba, and some of the chusser, any shot, I shot down to the rubber, and then in the maze of that in your children. That they let to lawyer bonnet, and they said that. That didn't I took someone cook it. Beautiful. That did someone called that day. I watch you see something. Milarepa musu sungu that munet garang when a magic tongue in a churang to go shane to go listen. Chick tawa in a metron so little to go and chick tawa in a door took set dinner here. So what chanja? That thing I took at the zoom hinder to Yazun. Anything I somebody say. And it telepe Yapo Zambo. Any shimrishim said the Kalai shimrishim said the telete to long Yaran Yam so the tele yo. Tela dancing in the Tela. What the young that is according to some point at Momazaji Jabba. Sandu Satorsi by Shidley. La what the Jimmy Mado. Promote. Pomo. Woman, most is it a woman? Comes it dependent. Mambo Yogura, that is that's in what the lace.
And so here, this body is really just a sack that we use to store this collection of aggregates. And so we call this like a sack. It's like a bag, just like we use for garbage, right? And why is that? And the reason for this is because we really think that let's see. We really think that this is something that it's really existent. Like, oh, this is me. This is I exist. This is me. I'm here. And then we are attached to this. And then and thinking that we are something that's actually existent. There's really an I. We offer ourselves the best, right? We put on these clothes. We wear nice clothes. We give ourselves the best food, and we think, oh, this is me. Here, I deserve the best, right? But honestly, this Milarepa, in his teachings, he will see that it directly points out where we make our mistake, where we are at fault. We think that this I is something that's truly inherently existent. But this body is nothing more than just a collection of filth, really, a collection of aggregates. And so we think this is something, oh, this is me. We see this beautiful form, and then we're like, oh, that's me. And we give ourselves the best. We put on the best clothes. We eat the best foods, and we clothe ourselves with all these things. But when a person passes away, we can see that really this body is just a shell. Inside of the shell, there's what? The lungs, there's the liver, there's the intestines, there's the intestinal contents. It's really just filth, right? We really can see this. And so oftentimes you'll see a lot of women, they clothe themselves in very nice clothes. They put on jewelry, they decorate, they ornament. But what are they decorating? The trick of it. These profound pith instructions, supreme nectar-like food, to sell them for the sake of food and clothing, this is utter foolishness.
When I meet His Holiness Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, 2009, I read the poems that take up some Tamjajan, Koranga. And Koranga Namjun, shoot a Mugichi the town. Shoot a Sosuke dark chid. Oh, magic. Loma Mamochin Zona Sambachi Chushiata. Pesha Yona Samba Chuchi Shiata Ni. Marang Tira Sona Samba Chushiat soon. Tate Sugar Dog Momari. Chumahil Muna Churan Sen Dog. Dream Jusize, Malate Stones. And then it Gara, Tamjasi. Then I'm young on Chushi Caps, Rembanda to the Kaya Lingu Marta. I'm Dinani Milarepa Caps in it today. There are issues like but there are 2 cups. But then the Milarepa soon do Pula. Hugo cheer there. And the Peshaki cheat the Chuzonia. The Pemasite Sambajo. La Pardu, Sajachimbo, Mohammedara, Zopachimbo, and Sangak, Tandriana, the Pena Maha Anu Ate, they are by your Maha Anu Ate in the gate. And the Sangaka chute, Tom Chusine, Peshaka Gonsejan, Sheate, Unhong to the Chushia, Pemasi Dukiades. Nimba Songzang Dinani, Danga, Dutsami same Shonde. Dogu cheat, Augustina, so the Kalak cheat, Guchit, Peshak cheat, Gedak cheat. But the Chushega you married, you zongu you to young Mala. What did they say at the pen on Chimbori is on? I'm alive in the Songwa. Then at the time, La Wadden Sola in Sanga Lamata, Beba in Anda, Sijava in Anda. Nanchu Yamli see go to Nanchu Prigurity in a Nanchu the Tola Tang. As a temper 산직 땜바든 진고 말도 땜바든 식니 그 말아. 칼라 띵진 크는 거 더라네 땜반 진고 요새. 내가 공농 그 왕게. 아니 내지 소화이는 땜바 식이요. 아니 땜반 진 맞나요? 땜바 마시 와지 와서 소야도 개치 뭐. 내가 앞에 가서 나와 듣지 삼미 센촌데 오그치드 총화 시드 린시. This is for me. Khenpo Karten. Marang te samon koguiwa. Nga shedayang shu zongme. Shu ge chede. Shu de yinping ge chede. Leje le mato. Shu de sosu gera ge chede. Sosu do ge chede. Sosu loma mambo yong ge chede. Kesi tipe kechi mori. Sabsab siya de kechi mori do wa.
Okay. And so this is something that I often think about. This is something I think about for myself. And so I had the great good fortune to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 2009. And during this time, I made a promise to him. I made a commitment to him. And so these days you see that there are many who practice the Dharma, but they do so for the purpose or the motivation of gaining great wealth, of gaining some kind of famous name, of collecting many students. And so here you'll see often, you'll see teachers come and for the purpose of amassing large amounts of students or amassing incredible amounts of wealth or for gaining a famous name. They're practicing the Dharma for these purposes. And this is something that is incredibly foolish. It is a huge, serious, grave error. And I myself made the promise that I would never do this. In the presence of Holiness, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Gyalpo Rinpoche, I made this promise that I would always try my best, even if it costs me my own life, to practice the Dharma for the sake of Dharma, for the purpose of Dharma. And so here in this text we say, in the Tibetan it says to sell the Dharma for dok, which means like basically food and clothing for just for these kinds of physical possessions. This is utter foolishness. And here we talk about holding the Dharma, continuing the lineage, like those who are holding the tradition. If people are practicing with this kind of motivation for their own gain, for their own name, for their own fame, then this not only does this not hold the tradition, this causes the tradition to decline. And this is something that's incredibly sad. It's such a grave error, such a great mistake. And here, even during this time, Jetsun Milarepa was teaching about this. And so there are these profound traditions of Mahamudra, of Dzogpa Chenpo, the vehicles of Maha, Anu, Ati, these great, profound traditions. Secret mantra, Vajrayana, secret mantra, Vajrayana. To sell these secrets for the sake of money, to sell these secrets for the sake of clothing. This is something that is so negative. It's so incredibly terrible. And so I made this kind of promise to myself that I would never do this. And so here, this is for me, Khenpo Karten. I made this promise that I would never do this. And so nowadays, you see, there are many teachers, teachers who are teaching the Dharma, whether they be monks, whether they be injis, and they are practicing with these kinds of motivations. And this is something that is incredibly sad. To practice like this, to sell the Dharma like this, is something that's incredibly foolish and incredibly negative. And so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Including that Yugdomida.
Huh?
Karten Yugdom Direction, Yugdom. Yugdom. Limba Mambo, Tupala, Jana Lachurango, to put Unam Jong Agin. A day in Yugdom Adongo. including the
Ode. Those gathered amongst a crowd of fools, if you are wise, practice the holy Dharma and accomplish your own good. Including,
죽돔
Jukdom.
다 참아 되게 domja 되게 domja 그 다. 이 측간 숨 되게 간테는 마모지 송송한 말에 봐. 대 제피에 다 노르드 죽돔
Oh, that's all. And
이
so,
측간 숨 그다음에 땅에 망보시 고문도 말에 봐게 나도 참아 렘바리야. 나도 참아 뉴바리야. 네 주자니 다들 지나서 학고네 삼로 땅나 니마 때리니 종대 주란도 장보지도 남는 로기이나 근데 나가 나신지는 왜 지쇼지 아 내가 비디오 가서 림비 살데 다 장부 랑가래 안 로기이나 멍은에 체딘 시기이나 아니 집지 몰라래 봐 콩나신지는 콩지선 나시지 당망은에 되게 오늘 나와래
and so here, this is the concluding lines. So these lines conclude or summarize the whole meaning of this entire song. And here it says, those gathered amongst a crowd of fools, if you are wise, practice the holy Dharma and accomplish your own good. If you are truly capable and intelligent, practice like I, the yogin, have done. And so here, all of us, we understand that all of us are fools, all of us are crazy. Understanding this, understanding that we are gathered here in this crowd of fools, we should practice like in the footsteps of Milarepa, like the yogin Milarepa has done.